Okay, our next PhD graduate is Sister Rejoice. Sister Rejoice? Here she is. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity this afternoon to share the topic of my dissertation, Intrafamilial Sexual Abuse of Minors in Ghana, Impact on the Well-Being of Survivors, Indication for Intervention. I stand here to present a topic that is sensitive, that brings us home. We talk about abuse in every aspect, but this is home. Home is assumed or is meant to be a place where we call a safe haven, where when you go out and you meet challenges, you run back home for safety, where you are trained, where you receive love, where boundaries and what the body means is taught to you. And yet, this is home. In the case of this topic, that one is threatened, that one feels unsafe. Where do we go when home is not safe? When it comes to intrafamilial sexual abuse, it is one of the most common areas of abuse globally, but it remains where less is said and less is studied. I remember when I went into an office asking a professional to talk to him about this topic in Ghana, I was asked, why are you doing this? In all topics, you don't have anything to think about. Is it this that you want to talk about? And I said, once there is one person who is affected by this, for me, it is important, and I will do it, and I will do it again. And so it made sense for me to know that there are millions of people who suffer around the world at different points, and we want to talk about the aspect of this abuse in the Ghanaian context. So let's look at the sociocultural dynamics. In Ghana, we have two main family systems, the patriarchal system and the matrilineal system. And in both of these systems, a male senior person is the head of the family, the go-to person. This in itself tells a story. A child belongs somewhere or does not belong somewhere. Who am I? And when it comes to intrafamilial sexual abuse, when the result becomes an offense or when there is pregnancy, the question is, where do I belong? Who am I? So when it comes to the risk factors that we can see in terms of culture, we can talk about patriarchal systems where male authority is normalized. And then we talk about taboo and silence. Collective shame that suppresses disclosure. In our context, when abuse happens, and if it is going to be disclosed, as said already by Sister Benedine, it is a question of the family. It's not the individual alone. And so even if the individual wants to disclose and the family is not for it, it becomes problematic. Then there are also some beliefs of spiritualists who would like to target young girls who are virgins and who can be used for ritual to make money or other things that also happen in the family context. Those are risks for young people. The status of a child in the family. We love children. We give them special names and interpret them in various ways. But when it comes to other areas, the children suffer. Then there is the issue of fostering, where you can go and live with your aunt, your uncle, your senior sister, and what have you. And that is a place where you are trained, where you are formed, and yet it can be a place of risk for abuse for a child. Then the issue of poverty that also comes in place, where areas are shared, where parents and children sometimes share the same space, and for that matter, it can create a risk for intrafamilial abuse. So when it comes to the problem, in our context, intrafamilial sexual abuse is criminalized. It's not, the law says this form of abuse is not accepted, and yet it happens. However, because of collective shame and fear of perpetrators, victims remain silent. And the official data that you get represent only a fraction of what goes on. We do not have a lot of survival centers, centered qualitative or quantitative approaches, studies. And so my study is venturing into understanding not what the professionals are saying, but what is it that the victims are saying? What is their story? What is their experience? And we also know that most of the things, the theories that are put in place are from the Western context. So we want to see what are the other areas of my context that contributes. So the issue of purity, and I talked about language the other day, defilement. The word defilement already says that someone is sacred and is defiled and is polluted. And because of that, someone will not want to marry a woman who is defiled. A sister has already mentioned that, or in that. Then some questions that we try to answer. How do survivors describe their experience of abuse? How do those experiences impact their physical, psychological, spiritual, and relational well-being? How did they respond? How did they cope with the trauma? What suggestions can we make to improve and to bring about prevention? And how can we support clinical practice and pastoral accompaniment? So this study is more an explorative study that will help me bring out this aspect and answer these questions that we put out. And the methodology that was used was constructivist grounded theory. I used semi-structured interviews, and I interviewed more than 8 female survivors, but in this study, 8 is what I worked with at the end of the day because they fit well. And they ranged between the ages of 17, 35. One participant was a minor, and we were able to obtain consent from parents to talk to her. And who are the participants? I gave them names. These are not their real names. So the age of onset for one is 15, The other 6, 12. The other 2 says, we are not sure, they were between 9 and 10. This one, 7 and 8. Another 12 years, 9 years, 14 years. And these abuses vary at different points. For some, 1 year, some between 8 to 9 years, 2 to 3 years, 5 years, 1 time, 3 years, 10 years, and 1 time. And the perpetrators were fathers, stepfathers, uncles, cousins. And somewhere I have put intergenerational, because in that particular case, the young woman was abused by her father, and then her child, she became pregnant from that abuse. And then when the child was growing up, the father tried to abuse that child also. And so that's the complexity of that aspect of it. In terms of religion, they were all mostly Christians. So core themes that emerged here were 5 of them. The context, the secrets of disclosure, the consequences, coping and healing resources, and what were the expectations or the needs that the individuals had to ask for. So in this context, in my research, fathers were more, because there were 3, then followed by stepfathers, then uncles, then cousin and uncle, because in this particular case, it was a multiple. It was a cousin, then there was an uncle. Then there is the multiple relationships where the same person is abused at home by an uncle, abused by a cousin, and then abused in school, and abused in someone who promised to marry her. And so it's like the re-victimization was double. And when it comes to what forms of abuse that were involved at home, it went from touching, fondling, and also penetration. And more than half later experienced re-victimization. So when it comes to the barriers of disclosure for my survivors and my participants, one was fear of the abuser's threat and of further harm of retaliation. There were some that were told, if you say it, your mother would die, or someone in the family would be attacked. And so they did not do it. Then there's the collective shame, self-blaming, and material dependence on the perpetrator. So if the perpetrator is the breadwinner, if the abuse is disclosed and he has to go through the legal system, and in case they have to be imprisoned, then who takes care of the family? And so people choose to remain silent and bear it silently. There's a loyalty to the family and the desire to protect its name and reputation. Disclosure was often delayed for years. It was not talked about until something happened, or for some people until they become pregnant, and it cannot be talked about, and it cannot be hidden anymore, and so it comes up. Some were looking at what are the consequences of the disclosure. For my participants, 6 of them were rejected by their family. For one of them, when she spoke about it, she was asked to leave the home. She thought she would go to the grandmother, and that would be a safe place to stay. The grandmother said, since you have disgraced my son, and let them take him away. You don't belong here, so you go. So she was on the streets for some time, and some NGO found her and brought her to a home, a makeshift home, and that's where she got the help that she needed and to go back to school and her child taken care of. Sometimes people were mocked. One participant felt she was publicly shamed at the market square and also interrogated severally at the chief's palace because they did not believe her story. And when it comes to the legal system, it's not mostly favorable for victims because it's always go and come, go and come, go and come, and that's one challenge also. Then we talk about the consequences. There are physical consequences, there are psychological consequences, relational consequences, and also spiritual consequences. So I want to talk about the relational aspect where trust is a challenge. For them, no one can be trusted, not even the one who wants to help. Then we talk about coping and healing resources, psychosocial resources, support from family members and the church, from some NGOs, and some were able to access medical and social care from the public. Then there are the spiritual resources. People depended on praying, reading scripture, making meaning of what it is, reinterpreting their experiences so that they can live through it. And for some of them, faith offered them support. For some, it was not. But a note of caution is that for some, leaving everything to God becomes a way of avoiding, seeking, and pursuing justice. I don't want to do anything, I leave it to God. What did the survivors said they needed or were expecting? And I put their own words here. Such a person should not be completely left alone. Somebody should be around that will let the person feel loved and cared for. For some, having a trusted person to talk to. Primarily, the victim needs to go for help from someone. I wish I had the chance to deal with my pain and hurt at the earlier age when I was much younger. Material support. Because most of them were rejected or abandoned, they felt that there was a need to have a place, a shelter, somewhere that they can live and stay and receive support and be able to go back to school and get some education for themselves. So let's see, looking at the findings through the context that we are coming from. The main things are the taboo and the collective shame around this intrafamilial abuse, the issue of patriarchy and gender norms, virginity, marriage, and honor. All of this is threatened when a young woman is abused within the family. Then the extended family, which we say it's a double-edged sword. The family, extended family is able to support some, listen to them, and to another extreme, it is not helpful for some. And so it can also be a place that creates the abuse. Then religion as primary coping. For most of them, they used their religion to cope with their situation. And this is just, And this is just the phase of everything that is said or that is found out. Thank you.